Belief is more than a fleeting thought or an emotional rush. It is the steady, unmovable anchor that keeps a person standing when the waves of life try to knock them down. Real transformation, whether in finances, relationships, health, or purpose, begins inside long before the world ever sees the evidence. This is why so many people strive and yet feel stuck. They attempt to change their surroundings without first changing the condition of their inner belief. Without the foundation of a firm conviction, any external improvement is temporary. Don't ever do it, because the mind and heart will eventually pull life back to match the belief they truly hold. Think about how a seed grows. When you look at a seed in your hand, there is no sign of the tree it will become. The branches, the fruit, the shade it will give, they are invisible at that stage. Yet inside the seed is a blueprint for everything it is destined to be. Belief works exactly like that seed. What you hold in your heart, the conviction you carry, is the blueprint for your future. You may not see the tree yet, but it is growing silently, shaping itself according to the picture you carry inside. This is why two people can face the same circumstances and have completely different results. One sees possibility, the other sees defeat. The difference is not in the situation. It is in the belief. The human mind is designed to search for evidence to support what it already believes. If you think you are destined for failure, your mind will find proof in every setback, and you will stop trying before your breakthrough comes. On the other hand, if you are convinced that success is inevitable, every obstacle will simply look like a stepping stone. That inner conviction will push you to try again. Look for new approaches and persist when others give up. This is not wishful thinking. It is the way our inner world governs our choices, and our choices shape our results. But belief is not built by accident. It must be cultivated. Many people let their beliefs be shaped by other people's opinions, by temporary circumstances, or by memories of past failures. If you allow your mind to replay scenes of disappointment, your belief will weaken and your actions will shrink to match that low expectation. On the other hand, don't ever do it. If you deliberately feed your heart with uplifting ideas, inspiring stories, and words that affirm your value and potential, you strengthen the conviction that you can succeed. Over time, this becomes an unshakable inner certainty. Belief is also tested. There will be times when you declare that something is possible, but the evidence in front of you seems to scream the opposite. This is where many people surrender, thinking that the absence of proof means the absence of possibility. But those who truly understand the power of belief know that the physical world often lags behind the inner conviction. Just because you can't see results yet does not mean nothing is happening. A farmer does not plant seeds in the soil and dig them up every day to check if they are growing. He trusts the process. In the same way, you must trust the conviction in your heart, even when the results are not immediate. This inner belief also influences the way you carry yourself. People can sense when someone is certain of their direction. There is a quiet confidence in their voice, a steadiness in their steps, and a focus in their decisions. They do not need to announce their faith in their future. It radiates naturally. Others, sensing this confidence, are drawn to support them. Opportunities seem to appear in their path, but the truth is that those opportunities were always there. Their belief simply made them more visible. One of the most important aspects of belief is that it grows with action. You cannot simply sit still and hope for belief to remain strong. Like a muscle, it must be exercised. Don't ever do it. Every time you take a small step toward your goal, your mind collects new evidence that reinforces your conviction. The first time you speak in front of an audience, you may feel nervous, but after doing it repeatedly, you begin to believe, I can do this. The first time you try to save money, it may feel slow and frustrating, but as the numbers grow, your belief in your ability to handle finances grows too. Action fuels belief, and belief fuels action, a cycle that creates unstoppable momentum. Another truth is that belief must be protected. It is fragile in its early stages. You may have experienced moments where you felt inspired about a new idea or a dream, only to share it with someone who immediately pointed out all the risks and reasons it might fail. If you are not careful, such voices can drain the strength of your conviction. This is why, especially in the early days of building belief, you must choose carefully who you listen to and what you expose yourself to. It is not about ignoring reality. It is about protecting your vision from being crushed before it is strong enough to stand on its own. Ultimately, the power of inner belief is that it allows you to live from the inside out. Instead of being shaped and controlled by external events, you begin to shape events through your convictions, words, and actions. The world might say it is impossible, but if your heart says otherwise, and you persist in that truth, you will often find that impossible was simply someone else's limitation, not yours. The people who make the greatest impact on the world are rarely those who had the easiest circumstances. They are the ones who refuse to let circumstances dictate their destiny. Belief is the unseen architect of your life. It builds silently, brick by brick, thought by thought, action by action. When you align your heart, your words, and your actions with an unshakable conviction, you become unstoppable. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because your inner strength becomes greater than any challenge you face. And that is the moment when transformation begins. Not when the outside changes, but when you decide deep within that the future you desire is already yours, and nothing can take it away. Words are more than sounds that pass through the air. They are carriers of meaning, power, and influence. They shape the way you see yourself, the way you interpret the world, and even the way your future unfolds. Most people underestimate this truth, speaking casually about their lives as if their words were harmless. But the reality is, every statement you make is a seed. Some seeds grow into strength, success, and confidence, while others grow into fear, doubt, and limitation. If you consistently speak about what you fear, you strengthen the very things you are trying to avoid. If you speak about what you desire, you give it life and energy. Your words are the steering wheel of your life. Imagine being in a car, looking out the windshield, and telling yourself, I don't want to hit that wall, while staring at it the whole time. Your mind, locked onto that object, will naturally steer you toward it. The same principle applies to life. When you keep talking about the problems, the lack, or the struggles, your attention locks onto them. Don't ever do it, and your thoughts and actions begin to align with them. On the other hand, when you speak about solutions, progress, and possibilities, your focus shifts toward them, and your life gradually follows in that direction. This is not about pretending problems don't exist. It's about choosing the language that strengthens your ability to overcome them. For example, saying, I can't do this shuts the door to creativity and perseverance. But saying, I will find a way, opens your mind to look for solutions. Your words either build walls or open doors. Every time you speak, you are either reinforcing your faith or reinforcing your fear. The words you speak are also instructions to your subconscious mind. The subconscious does not filter statements for truth or falsehood. It simply takes them in and begins to work toward them. If you say, "I'm so unlucky," your mind begins to notice every situation that confirms this belief, ignoring moments where good things happen. If you say, "Opportunities are always coming to me," your mind begins to notice doors that were always there but previously invisible to you. What changes is not the outside world. It's your perception, and that perception shapes the choices you make. It is worth remembering that the habit of speaking fear often develops subtly. You may think you are simply being realistic when you constantly verbalize doubts. But what you are actually doing is rehearsing defeat before it even happens. Fear-based speech focuses on what could go wrong. Faith-based speech focuses on what could go right. Both are possibilities, but the one you feed will grow. Some people may say, "But I can't lie to myself. If I'm struggling, don't ever do it." I have to say it. The key here is that speaking what you desire is not lying. It's aligning your words with the outcome you are working toward rather than the temporary circumstance you are in right now. Just as a builder speaks about the finished house while looking at an empty plot of land, you can speak about your future while standing in your present. This does not ignore reality. It creates a path toward changing it. The more you speak in alignment with your goals, the more natural it becomes. At first, it may feel forced, especially if you are used to voicing doubts and frustrations. But over time, your vocabulary begins to change. You catch yourself before speaking negatively. You replace "I can't" with "I can." "It's too hard" with "I will find a way." "I'm always behind" with "I'm making progress." These shifts may seem small, but their cumulative effect is powerful. They change your mood, your outlook, and your readiness to take action. It is also essential to be mindful of the environment your words create for others. Your speech not only influences you, but also those who hear you. When you speak positively about the future, you inspire confidence in those around you. When you consistently voice fear, you may unknowingly spread it. The atmosphere you create with your words can either lift others or weigh them down. Think of a leader in a crisis. If they speak panic, the team collapses. If they speak hope and direction, the team rallies. You have the same influence in your own circle, whether you realize it or not. One of the most effective ways to shift from fear-based to desire-based speech is to practice gratitude. Gratitude forces you to focus on what is already working, which naturally leads you to speak more positively. When you get into the habit of saying, "I'm grateful for the progress I've made," rather than, "I'm still so far behind," you redirect your energy. You begin to see yourself as someone who is moving forward, which makes it easier to talk about where you are going instead of where you've been stuck. There will always be moments when negative words are tempting, especially during disappointment. In those moments, remember that your words are not just a reaction to the present. They are an investment in the future. Speaking what you desire does not mean you deny your current challenges. It means you choose not to give those challenges the final word. You acknowledge the difficulty, but then you declare the outcome you are working toward. This keeps your vision alive, even when circumstances try to bury it. Your words are your most constant companions. Don't ever do it. You hear yourself more than anyone else hears you. If those words consistently speak hope, strength, and possibility, they will build an inner world that cannot be shaken by outer events. Over time, what you say will begin to match what you see, not because life suddenly got easier, but because you steered it there one word at a time. And that is the true power of speaking what you desire. It does not just change your vocabulary, it changes your destiny. The ability to see possibilities is one of the most valuable skills a person can develop. Yet it is often overlooked because it does not seem as tangible as technical expertise or formal education. However, history and experience prove that those who rise above the crowd are not always the most talented or the most resourced. They are the ones who can see what others ignore. This skill is not magic. It is a trained perspective, a way of thinking that can be developed through deliberate practice. Possibilities are everywhere, but most people walk past them because their attention is fixed on limitations. They have trained their minds, often unconsciously, to notice only the problems, the gaps, and the reasons something will not work. This habit of thought becomes a filter, shaping the way they interpret everything they encounter. When opportunity comes, they do not recognize it because it rarely looks like success in the beginning. It often looks like hard work, uncertainty, or even failure in disguise. Training your mind to see possibilities begins with asking better questions. Instead of saying, "Why won't this work?" start asking, "How could this work?" Instead of, "What's missing?" ask, "What can I use with what I already have?" The mind will always seek answers to the questions it is asked. If you ask negative, limiting questions, you will get answers that keep you stuck. If you ask expansive, solution-oriented questions, you begin to notice openings where before you only saw walls. Don't ever do it. One of the reasons opportunities hide in plain sight is that they are often wrapped in challenges. For example, a problem in your community could be an opportunity to create a service or product that solves it. A sudden career setback could be the catalyst for discovering a new path that is more aligned with your strengths. Those who are possibility-minded do not run from difficulties. They approach them with curiosity, asking, "What could this make possible?" This shift in thinking turns obstacles into stepping stones. Another essential part of training your mind to see possibilities is changing your environment. If you spend most of your time in settings where people complain, criticize, and resist change, your vision will narrow. You will start to see life as a closed system with very few options. But if you place yourself in environments where people talk about ideas, growth, and solutions, your mental lens widens. You begin to see connections and pathways you never considered before. The human brain is influenced heavily by what it hears and observes, so the company you keep directly affects your ability to spot opportunities. It is also important to understand that possibilities are often connected to needs, your own and those of others. Every invention, every breakthrough, every great success began as a response to a need. When you pay attention to the needs around you instead of avoiding them, you put yourself in a position to create value. And value creation is the essence of success. The greater the value you bring, the more possibilities open to you, because people are drawn to those who solve problems and make life better. Training your mind to see possibilities requires letting go of perfectionism. Many people miss opportunities because they are waiting for the perfect set of conditions. But possibilities rarely arrive fully formed. They usually come as small beginnings, incomplete ideas, or imperfect situations. The person who can look at something unfinished and imagine its potential has an enormous advantage. They can take something ordinary and turn it into something extraordinary. Not because the opportunity was unique, but because their vision was. Another powerful habit is learning from others' successes, not with envy, but with curiosity. When you see someone achieve something, ask yourself, what steps did they take that I can adapt to my own situation? Instead of saying, they're just lucky, Recognize that their success is likely the result of seeing and acting on opportunities that others missed. By studying patterns of success, you sharpen your ability to notice similar openings in your own path. It is worth noting that the skill of seeing possibilities also depends on your willingness to take risks. A possibility without action remains only a daydream. Those who excel at turning opportunities into results are willing to move forward before every detail is clear. They understand that progress often comes through experimentation and adjustment. If you wait for absolute certainty, you will watch possibilities pass by while others act on them. The mindset here is not reckless risk-taking, but calculated steps toward a vision, knowing that you can learn and adapt along the way. Over time, as you practice looking for possibilities, your brain begins to work differently. You become more alert to patterns, more aware of connections, and more open to unconventional ideas. This is why training your mind in this way is so valuable. It compounds. The more you see, the more you act, the more possibilities arise. Life begins to feel abundant with options, not limited by lack. Training your mind to see possibilities is about adopting a perspective of openness and curiosity. It means refusing to accept that the way things are is the way they must remain. It means looking at every situation, good or bad, and asking, what could this lead to? Those who master this skill find themselves in places they never imagined. Don't ever feel self. Don't ever do it, achieving things they once thought were out of reach, not because the world gave them special treatment, but because they trained themselves to notice the doors that were already there, waiting to be opened. Waiting for perfect conditions is one of the most common traps that holds people back from achieving their goals. The idea sounds harmless. You tell yourself you will start when you have more money, when you feel more confident, when the timing is just right. But in reality, perfect conditions rarely arrive. Life is full of unpredictable events, changing circumstances, and incomplete information. If you wait for everything to line up before taking action, you will spend years preparing without ever moving forward. Acting in faith means taking the first step even when the road ahead is not entirely clear. It is the decision to trust that as you move forward, the next steps will reveal themselves. This approach is not about being reckless. It is about understanding that progress often comes through motion, not planning alone. You cannot steer a parked car, and you cannot discover your full potential without taking action, even if it is imperfect. One of the reasons people hesitate is fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of wasting time or resources. But failure is not final. It is feedback. Every action you take teaches you something, even if the outcome is not what you hoped for. Many of the world's greatest successes were born from a series of attempts that didn't work at first. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not that one group avoided mistakes. It's that they kept moving despite them. Acting in faith also builds confidence. You cannot think your way into total certainty. Confidence grows through experience. The first time you take a leap, you might feel shaky. But with each step you take, you gather proof that you can handle more than you thought. Your mind begins to shift from, I hope I can, to I know I can. And that shift only happens through action. Another important truth is that opportunities have a window of time. Some doors will not stay open forever. If you spend too long hesitating, you may find that the chance has passed and the conditions will never be exactly the same again. Acting in faith allows you to seize the moment instead of watching it disappear. Don't ever do it. You do not have to know every detail before you start. You only need to know your direction and take the step that is in front of you. People often imagine that those who act boldly are free from doubt, but that is rarely true. Most people who achieve great things feel uncertainty before they act. They simply refuse to let it stop them. They have learned to see uncertainty not as a sign to stop, but as a natural part of the journey. They trust that the path will become clearer as they walk it. Acting in faith also has a multiplying effect. When you move forward, you begin to attract resources, people, and opportunities that were invisible when you were standing still. It's as if the world responds to your movement by opening new paths. This is why you will often hear people say, "Things just started falling into place once I began." The truth is that those opportunities were always there, but they become visible only when you are in motion. Don't ever do it. Sometimes the act of beginning is the hardest part. You may feel overwhelmed by the size of your dream and wonder how you could possibly make it happen. But you don't have to complete the journey in one leap. You only need to take the first step. If you focus on that single action, it becomes manageable. Then once you have taken it, the next step becomes clearer. This is how momentum is built, through small, consistent actions taken with belief. Acting in faith does not mean ignoring preparation. Planning is valuable, but it must have a limit. There comes a point when more planning is just a disguise for procrastination. True preparation involves both planning and doing. You gather the information you need, you take the first step, and then you adjust as you go. This balance between thought and action is what keeps you moving forward without drifting into uncalculated risk. It's also important to remember that the conditions you are waiting for might not actually make starting any easier. You may think that more money, more time, or more skill will remove all fear, but fear often shows up no matter what you have. The real solution is not to eliminate fear before you act, but to act even while fear is present. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is movement in spite of it. The more you practice acting in faith, the more natural it becomes. You begin to trust yourself and the process. You realize that mistakes are not the end, but part of the journey, and you become less afraid of them. You discover that the path to your goal is built one step at a time, and that waiting for perfection was only keeping you from the growth and rewards that come from the journey itself. In the end, acting in faith before you see results is about making a decision to live proactively rather than reactively. It is about refusing to let uncertainty control you and choosing to create momentum instead. The truth is, your future will not suddenly arrive fully formed. It is built by the actions you take today. Every step you take sends a signal to yourself and to the world that you are serious about your vision. And in time, those steps add up to a reality that once existed only in your imagination. Your mind is like a garden, and the thoughts that grow there are heavily influenced by the seeds you allow in. Every conversation, don't ever do it. Every piece of media you consume, every environment you step into plants something in your mental soil. If you want your belief to grow strong, you must be intentional about what you expose it to. This is why guarding against negative influence is so critical. Because belief, especially when it is still developing, can be weakened or even uprooted by constant exposure to the wrong voices. Negative influence doesn't always announce itself boldly. It can be subtle, disguised as concern, realism, or even humor. A friend might say, "I just don't want to see you get disappointed." Or a coworker might remark, "That sounds risky." These comments may seem harmless, but they carry weight, especially if you hear them often. Over time, they can chip away at your confidence and replace possibility with doubt. You may start hesitating, not because you lost faith in your vision, but because you absorbed someone else's limitations. The truth is, not everyone will see what you see. Your dream may be invisible to them because it is not their assignment. It is yours. If you expect universal approval before moving forward, you will never start. And if you allow every opinion to influence you, your path will constantly shift until you are standing still. Guarding against negative influence means learning to filter what you hear, keeping the valuable input, but discarding what weakens your conviction. One of the most effective ways to protect your belief is to limit your exposure to chronic negativity. This might mean spending less time with people who constantly complain, criticize, or speak fear into every conversation. It might mean changing your media habits, reducing the amount of news or social media that fuels anxiety or comparison. You cannot control every message that reaches you, but you can choose which ones you dwell on. The voices you consistently listen to will eventually become the background music of your life, shaping your mood, your focus, and your expectations. Guarding your belief does not mean isolating yourself from everyone who disagrees with you. Sometimes constructive criticism is necessary for growth. The key is discernment, knowing the difference between feedback meant to help you improve and comments meant to pull you down. Constructive criticism offers solutions and encourages progress. Destructive criticism offers no way forward. It only magnifies problems and reinforces fear. When you hear the latter, you have to mentally reject it before it takes root. Another powerful defense is surrounding yourself with uplifting influences. Find people who encourage you, challenge you to grow, and celebrate your progress. When you share your goals with someone who believes in you, their confidence can strengthen your own. Being in an environment where success is normal and growth is celebrated will train your mind to expect good things. Just as negativity is contagious, so is faith, optimism, and perseverance. Sometimes the most dangerous negative influence comes from within, your own inner dialogue. You might replay past failures, doubt your ability to succeed, or tell yourself stories about why things won't work out. If you are not careful, you can become your own biggest critic. Guarding your belief means catching these thoughts and replacing them with ones that strengthen you. Instead of saying, "This is too hard," you can say, "This is challenging, but I'm capable of learning." Instead of, "I always mess up," you can say, "I'm improving with each attempt." This is not blind optimism. It's choosing language that supports your progress instead of sabotaging it. It's also worth remembering that negative influence often has the loudest voice in the early stages of your journey. When your belief is young, it is fragile. It is like a newly planted seed, easily uprooted if trampled on. As you take consistent action and see results, your belief becomes stronger, and negative voices lose their power. Until then, you must guard your mental soil with extra care. Guarding against negative influence is not just about defense. It's about actively building an environment that nourishes you. Read books that inspire you. Listen to speakers who lift your thinking. Spend time in places that stir your creativity. Surround yourself with reminders of why you started and where you're going. The stronger the positive environment you create, the less room there is for doubt to take hold. Finally, understand that guarding your belief is a lifelong discipline. Even as you grow stronger, there will be moments when negative influence tries to creep back in. But the more you practice, the faster you will recognize it and shut it out. Over time, this habit becomes second nature. You will naturally gravitate toward what strengthens you and away from what weakens you. In the end, Your belief is too valuable to leave unprotected. It is the foundation of everything you hope to achieve. Just as you would not leave a valuable possession out in the open for anyone to damage, you cannot leave your conviction unguarded. Protect it, feed it, and keep it in an environment where it can grow strong. When you do, no negative voice, whether from the outside or inside, will be able to uproot what you know in your heart to be true. Consistency is the silent force behind every lasting achievement. It is not always exciting, and it rarely gets the same attention as big breakthroughs or sudden wins, but it is the hidden driver of transformation. When you look at anyone who has achieved extraordinary results in business, health, relationships, or personal growth, you will find that their success is built not on one dramatic moment, but on a series of steady, repeated actions over time. The truth is, change is rarely instant. Most of the progress you want will be the result of small steps taken consistently, not giant leaps taken occasionally. Yet many people struggle with this because they expect fast results. They start with energy and excitement, but when they don't see immediate rewards, they lose motivation and stop. What they often miss is that consistency works in the background. Don't ever do it, producing invisible growth before it becomes visible. Just like seeds germinating underground, the early stages of change happen where you can't see them, but they are no less real. Consistency is also a trust builder, both with yourself and with others. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you strengthen your self-belief. You prove to yourself that you can be relied upon. This internal trust is powerful because it eliminates the constant negotiation in your mind about whether you will stick to something. When you are consistent, you no longer wonder if you will keep going. It becomes part of who you are. And when others see your consistency, they begin to trust you as well. Opportunities tend to flow toward people who are dependable because reliability is rare and valuable. One reason consistency is so effective is that it compounds. A small positive action repeated daily can produce results far beyond what you imagine. For example, don't ever do it. Reading for just 15 minutes a day may not seem like much, but over a year it adds up to more than 90 hours of learning. Saving a modest amount of money regularly can lead to significant financial growth over time. Practicing a skill for a short time every day can make you an expert over the years. The power is not in the size of the action, it's in the regularity of it. Consistency also builds momentum. In the beginning, it can feel hard to get moving, just like pushing a heavy object. But once momentum builds, the effort required to keep going is much smaller than the effort needed to start again from a complete stop. This is why starting and stopping repeatedly is so draining. It forces you to constantly fight against inertia. But if you commit to showing up regularly, even on days when you feel unmotivated, you keep the momentum alive, and the process becomes easier over time. The challenge with consistency is that it requires discipline, especially when the excitement fades. Enthusiasm can get you started, but discipline keeps you going. Discipline means doing the work even when you don't feel like it because you are committed to the bigger picture. It's the decision to act based on your values and goals, not on your temporary emotions. This is where many people fall short. They wait for motivation to come before acting, not realizing that action often creates motivation. To remain consistent, it helps to break your goals into manageable steps. If your daily commitment is too large or complicated, it becomes easier to skip it. But when the steps are small and clear, you can keep moving forward without overwhelming yourself. Over time, these small steps create a habit, and habits require far less mental effort to maintain than willpower alone. Another key to consistency is tracking your progress. It's easy to lose sight of how far you've come when you're focused only on how far you have left to go. By keeping a simple record, whether it's a journal, a checklist, or an app, you can see your streaks, your improvements, and your milestones. This visual proof reinforces the belief that your efforts are making a difference. Even if the external results are not yet obvious, it's also important to guard against perfectionism. Many people break their streak because they miss a day or make a mistake. Don't ever do it. And then they feel they have failed completely. The truth is, consistency is not about never slipping. It's about returning quickly when you do. Missing one day does not undo months of progress. The key is to not let a small setback turn into a long pause. The most consistent people are not perfect. They are persistent. Surrounding yourself with accountability can make a big difference, too. Whether it's a mentor, a friend, a group, or even an online community, having someone who knows your goals and checks in on your progress can help you stay on track. Accountability adds a layer of commitment beyond yourself, and it can provide encouragement during the inevitable moments when your drive weakens. Consistency is not about intensity. It's about longevity. Anyone can work hard for a short burst, but those who sustain effort over time create lasting change. When you commit to showing up every day or every week without fail, you position yourself to outlast the obstacles and outperform the competition. Success becomes less about luck and more about the predictable outcome of your steady actions. If you embrace consistency as a way of life, don't ever do it! You will find that it not only shapes your results, but also shapes you. It transforms you into someone who can be counted on, someone who can start and finish, someone who can endure the process without constantly seeking shortcuts. And when you become that person, breakthroughs are not a matter of if, but when. Every transformation begins with a decision, one moment where you choose to take control of your thoughts, your words, your actions, and ultimately, your future. You have seen how belief shapes the foundation, how your words direct your steps, how training your mind to see possibilities opens doors, how acting in faith propels you forward before the evidence appears, how guarding your belief protects your vision, and how consistency turns small actions into unstoppable momentum. Each of these principles on its own is powerful, but together they create a force that can change the trajectory of your entire life. They are not quick fixes or passing motivations. They are disciplines. They require practice, patience, and perseverance. And the truth is, there will be days when you feel tired, discouraged, or unsure. But if you keep these truths in front of you, don't ever do it, they will guide you through those moments. Belief will give you the courage to start. Your words will keep your focus on the outcome you want. Don't ever do it! Your ability to see possibilities will help you find a way forward when others can't. Your faith in action will move you into opportunities instead of waiting for them. Your guarded mind will protect the strength you've built from being drained by doubt. Your consistency will ensure that every day you take one more step toward the life you desire. When you live by these principles, you stop waiting for life to change and start creating that change yourself. You stop seeing obstacles as the end and start viewing them as stepping stones. You stop being at the mercy of circumstances and begin shaping circumstances through your mindset and actions. The impact of living this way doesn't just stay with you. It spreads. Others will notice your confidence, your resilience, your progress, and they will be inspired. Without even trying, you will become an example of what is possible when someone refuses to give up on their vision. And perhaps through your example, you will plant seeds of belief in others, seeds that will grow into their own stories of transformation. The advice you've received here is not theory. It is a blueprint. If you take it seriously, if you apply it daily, it will work. It has worked for countless others, and it will work for you. Not because life will suddenly become easy, but because you will become stronger, wiser, and more capable than you ever imagined. The choice now is yours. You can let these ideas remain words you read once, or you can make them the principles you live by. If you choose the latter, then no matter where you are today, no matter what challenges you face, you can begin moving toward the future you truly desire. One step, one word, one action at a time. And when you look back one day, you will see that this moment right here was the turning point. The day you decided that belief, vision, action, protection, and consistency were no longer just concepts. They became the way you live. From that point forward, everything began to change.